roll the dice hard and ride your luck. That seems to be one of the principles that has really driven David's growth in his business, London Structures Lab. Welcome to the session. David, how are you?
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure to have you. Let's get straight into it. So, David, tell us a bit more about your business and the kind of services you provide.
We're a structural engineering consultancy based in London. We help developers, building developers, collaborators, and other stakeholders to sort of make the very best of existing buildings or complex sites and complex briefs. And we've been doing that in London Structures Lab for the last 4 and a bit years.
And that sounds really good. And had a pleasure of talking to you earlier on, where you shared some background on how you got to where you were, and just want to follow up on a few important points you made. So you mentioned luck, that luck has been one of the key things that has helped you develop your growth. But we all know that luck can be staring us in the face, and sometimes people may not utilize the luck that's in front of them. So there's three of you in your business, the three partners. Can you talk us through how you'd advise other business owners kind of look out for luck and make the most of it when it hits them in the face?
I think every opportunity that that comes your way, you need to treat it with respect. You can't be dismissive. It's a little bit like ideas. If you come up with an idea, it may be completely unfeasible, but it may actually trigger something else that is feasible and takes you into an area that you wouldn't have gone to normally. I think also what you have to do, the three of us have very, very different strong opinions. We have a good way of making sure that we communicate those with respect. But when an idea comes in, someone will say, I think there's something in this, and end up sort of pitching it to the other two, and we thrash it around, push it and pull, and that's sort of how we get to it. We don't take work on just for commercial reasons anyway. We have a series of principles, but I suppose you could sort of summarize them as, of course, we would like to make money on more projects than we don't, of course. But we also, we're looking for opportunities to learn, and we're also looking for opportunities to, I suppose we could say, do the right thing in terms of themes. So they could be whether it's a cultural project, or whether it's something for a collaborator that needs particular help or something like that. So we're not a purely financial focused business anymore. We call ourselves a practice rather than a business.
Amazing. I mean, I love the notion you mentioned about treating all ideas or treating opportunities with respect, because you never know what could be behind what's originally in front of you. It could lead to a new form of
Absolutely.
thought, to another better idea or something. It's really good. Now, you mentioned that there are three partners in your firm, yourself and two others, and the three of you are very different. Now, when people think about having partners in business that are very different to them, alarm bells go off, thinking, oh my God, conflict. Can we work together? Will this be a peaceful place to work, etc., etc.? But it seems as if you guys have really made it work in your favor. Could you maybe share some of the core principles that you've come across or you've learned in working with partners who are different from you, but still becoming very successful as a team?
I think there's sort of two aspects to that, I guess. One is we were friends as well beforehand, and we kind of knew each other's differences and foibles as well. And I'd be lying if I said that some of those don't frustrate me, but I'm equally frustrating, and I acknowledge that and accept that. But what we did, I suppose, is that whilst we come across when we're trying to set up principles for the business, or like I say, or any problem, I guess, and we'll come about it differently. Because of some sort of baseline core values, we do actually all want to end up in the same place. So that trust that the other people have what is the best interest for the business, for example, which kind of seems obvious, but the best interest for the business at heart. So actually what you're arguing about is an approach. So that makes it a lot easier because you trust the other people that they're trying to do the best thing. I'd also say that one thing you've sort of made me realize is that what we did is that we wanted to really define our culture very early. So
Mm,
we spent a lot of time working out, why are we doing this? The culture of what we think engineering is, what we think an engineering practice should be, and all those things. And we actually have 16 points of culture that we have developed, and we talk about them with the company every year. And we accept that as more people join, it gets incredibly complex, of course. 3 people, there's only 3 relationships to deal with. You bring a fourth person in, you've instantly got 6. So it's and it escalates. But what we do is we talk about that culture, and then we see that have we got more culture coming in? Like, what are those points? Are we happy with them? Are we doing everything we want to do? As we kind of
mm.
report culture all the time. And if you get those sort of fundamental principles, as we were talking about earlier, right, then the rest does follow.
Completely agree. And hey, look, it's something which is probably sometimes easier said than done. As we mentioned earlier as well, that defaulting to rules is the easy way around. Just creating a rule, don't be late past 9 o'clock or whatever it may be. It's easy to come up with. But sticking to principles can become difficult because it can be vague. I mean, now clearly you've created a successful business, sticking to principles and building a business principles. I mean, what advice, tips, or learnings could you share with people on living the dream of having a business that's based on principles opposed to draconian style rules?
Um, I suppose, well, first and foremost, principles are far more useful because what they allow you to do is to build on them. And as engineers, but I think all people, everything else follows from that. If they're built properly, then logic will take you to any decision.
Mm,
And if it's true to those principles, then everybody should, in theory, be agreed with it. But what I would say is that I've looked at plenty of companies' websites and seen their presentation and pitches, and you actually see a lot of the same words in lots of companies, and that's sort of, I suppose that's in their marketing material, and they've probably got someone to, but no one's actually then. I don't know how much those people then go into the business and make sure that what you're doing, if you want a culture, you have to talk about it, and you have to
mm,
sort of push it back into the company, and you have to make sure that not only does that change everyone's, including the founding partners, it change the way that they do things, but it can also make sure that if people sort of don't agree with them, that you or don't think that they're being achieved, that you can tackle that. So there's no point putting it on your website if you're not going to make sure that you live and breathe it within the practice.
absolutely. And those are the two key words that's shown out to me, living and breathing your culture. One thing coming up with a marketing blurb to make the website look nice and fancy and attract good people, but living and breathing it is the more difficult part. Um, but the benefits, I suppose, are huge, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if the cultural points are all about treating people with respect and trying to become the best version of yourself as an engineer you can be.
Mm,
So yeah, the benefits are, we've attracted a fantastic team. I think we're further reinforcing those talents and improving on them, and that's ultimately our product. That's the only thing we really ultimately need to worry about. If we've got a high quality, engaged team, the rest of it follows. And you
mm.
don't need to market the team. People often come back to me and say how great the team is. It does make me question if there's a very large difference between us and the rest of the industry, which would be worrying. But it's lovely to hear, because you hear it from lots of people dealing with the full array of everybody in our practice, and then that must be because we're getting something right culturally.
Awesome. Let's change tact or direction or nature of conversation into looking ahead into the future. Now, I don't
Yep.
expect you to have a crystal ball. Nobody has, unfortunately. But looking ahead for the rest of the year, we're in January right now. We've got another roughly 11 months left to the end of the year. Oh, that's scary. 11 months. Um, what would you say are probably the top 3 challenges that you as a business is likely to face? Parking aside all the external factors such as potentially dragging out recession, cost of living, all the things we can't materially go and do anything about. What are the top three challenges that you think your business is likely to have to overcome in the next 3 years? In the
Uh,
next 1 year, the top three challenges in the next 1 year, sorry.
I think no one has left us yet, but that will happen. Something will happen in someone's personal life,
Mm,
or that they will need to leave, um, and um, and I think it's quite easy. Oh, no, I think it's quite seductive. I guess it's quite seductive to yourself to be leading a successful team because you think I'm getting everything right. I mean, the reality is that we will have some problems, and we have had some problems in the past in terms of not winning a project that we felt that we were the right people for, or something like that. How do you turn a setback around quickly?
mm,
So it's that leading a successful team, straightforward. But how do you minimize the downtime and turn sort of what could be negative external pressures from like projects and stuff, or losing someone from the team in terms of those relationships? We care deeply about each other, so
mm,
it will be quite a shock. But how are we as a team going to be able to turn that round and keep going? And I think you have to acknowledge those things. We try to learn as much from successes as we do from failure.
mm.
And I think because we're always like, well, because we're always aware of the luck that we've received, so we're always a bit like, well, we're not going to be able to have this forever. And I think so. The biggest challenge is always going to be dealing with any downturn in the I suppose the team, the feelings and the motivation within the team.
Makes sense. Hey, look, for most businesses, the number one asset is their team, and it seems as if that's definitely the case for you guys, where your number one asset is your team. If anything goes wrong with them, it has an impact everywhere else. But hey, look, you're
Yeah.
learning fast, you're riding your luck, you're doing all the right things, and no doubt there's plenty of good, even better times for you in the future. But
Mm.
David, it's been really nice speaking to you, hearing more about your journey, how you've dealt with things, and you've certainly left us with plenty of things to ponder on as other business owners look to grow their business. You've done your part in helping them out. David, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully your paths cross again in the future. And looking forward to speaking to you later. Thank you very much.
Okay. Cheers. Bye.